Good morning, my family, and I'm going to tell you right now, it feels so good to be back with you. It started out when we were changing these phones. I ended up with some major trouble with it, and we finally got a new phone. Got that settled, and then this entire family of 7 got struck down with the virus. So we are all recovering at this point from that, and so it's time for me to come back to work. Now, I will tell you, for the most part, that I was down, basically. I did finish canning up some of our meats that we had gotten on sale, whether they were from Sam's Club or Aldi's. We had a total of 23 pounds of chicken breast have now all been canned up. I've had 30 pounds of hamburger, 2 of which been canned up for just strictly hamburger. The third one, which is 10 pounds, we are going to do together because this is going to be made into chili. Not just your ordinary chili though, and I'm going to go over that in the comparison between the Ball Blue Book of preserving their chili recipe too. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a updated tour of where we're at in this pantry. The sales that we hit, I will tell you, we did when we go to Sam's, we would get a little here and a little there extra. Now, it has been about, I'd say, a month since I did my pantry update with you, and y'all know that it was getting, we were working at it, but it was still a lot of holes. Well, there's been a lot of work since then, and I have put through the heat, and we're talking such bad heat, and I think that's what's incubated the sickness, basically. It has been awful. We're all ready for some relief. We would love to be able we're enjoying the temps that have cooled off now. They're manageable. So we're enjoying this. We hope that it stays there. We're ready for fall. I had to go out there and sadly pull a lot of plants. They're all crispified. So we're going to be replanting seeds. We want to keep going at least through the fall as much as we can. So the massive heat is over and it's time to go back to work, and I could not be happier. So here we are. Give me one moment and I'll be right back with y'all. Okay, so I did have, and I apologize for the break, I had one of my subscribers ask me about the Mediterranean lifestyle and how to be able to do that without all the fancy gourmet stuff. One of the reasons Mediterranean looks gourmet is because basically it wasn't actually created here in the United States. It has been in the places like Italy and Greece and the more exotic places, I guess the fancier places, France. But they've all already lived a beautiful lifestyle. Americans were what we call the all-American lifestyle, was the life of convenience. The big difference in why they look so fancy is because they learned how to prepare a meal to the most elegant looking dish you would ever find, let alone so bursting with flavor. It was absolutely amazing. However, our way of life and adapting into their way of life of adapting is quite different. So, how I could tell you to be able to do Mediterranean lifestyle without a lot of the fanciness is keep it simple. Mediterranean is nothing but fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fresh meat, fresh, homemade, everything. That's basically what it is. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, y'all. So all I could say is at this point you can create a dish, you can leave out the fancy seasonings like sumac and all of this, replace it with lemon juice, because sumac is nothing but an enhanced lemon flavor. So I mean, you can keep it all American, use fresh foods, and I will see what I can do with creating recipes that will help show you how to be able to do that. In the meantime, what we're going to go through right now is our pantry update. I want to keep you all informed on how we're being able to do this, because I want to help you, those who are on low carb, with diabetics, and Mediterranean. What are we doing to do this? Now, one thing I could say, I am so super grateful right now, more than ever before, and I did tap into that, was my bone broth. I used it when we were sick, and I am forever grateful for using that. And I still got quite a bit left. So let me give you an update of what we got going on, and we will be right back. Okay, y'all, I think it's been about a month since we had been showing the update, and yep, that is Duke's that y'all are seeing. The reason I'm choosing Duke's is actually a very good mayonnaise for a diabetic. I have checked the ingredients, and there is absolutely no even hidden sugars in it. Duke's comes out to be really good for low carb and for diabetics. These are our stocks, so this cabinet is pretty much maxed out in fullness at the moment. Now this room is becoming now my pride and joy. I am going to be taking you through this step by step to show you what we have done. As you can see, it has definitely been upgraded. So we're going to start here with the meats, and I told you about the chicken that we were doing. You know, this will come into focus a little bit at a time here, but this was our herb chicken, and from there down further is just our ordinary chicken in broth. That is it. And that continued over into this row right here. Now that row back there is our greens that we had done from this summer's crops. Beef broth, I'm so grateful for this stuff. And then that was what we had last time when we did this video. Yeah, the focus, sorry y'all. This was that chicken mix that we could turn into chicken and gravy or whatever. So then over here was 20 pounds of hamburger. Now it does have this fat on it. Like I told you, this won't hurt anything. It has all my liquid in it as well. All the meat is covered. Everything is absolutely fine. So all I do is I scrape this out when I go to use it. So it's not hurting anything, and I am exceptionally happy with that. And that continued on over to that case right there. Now down here we still have, these are what we've already had with the ham and beans. Now the new one, this is some of my turkey and chicken broth, so let me get this out of the way for a minute. That was the potatoes. Now we have two batches. This is pumpkins, so let me get this out of the way. That was on here, so I'm looking at probably doing some more potatoes. I've been doing them when I catch a break or when I catch a sales on these. So these came out pretty, honestly, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. This was the herb potatoes. They have much less starches in it, and these are good for frying or whatever. So, and these, which were the russets, that nobody likes basically because of what it does. It crumbles apart, it doesn't stay together, and it's starchy. But this will make good mashed potatoes. So those were the potatoes that I did. And then again, I have my pumpkin for whenever we need it, if we need it for puree or whatever. I may do a little bit more this year, and if I want it, because diabetics can have pumpkin, I can make pumpkin muffins out of them or something, so I may go ahead and do some more pumpkin. These were the black beans we already have. Now, we do have honey that came from our honeybees recently we lost. So they had left the honey behind, so we have 5 pints of honey that will last me all winter. I'm grateful. I needed that when we were sick too. I had a few jars over here of this corn. Now, I have added more. Diabetics do not fare well with corn, so it would be a very, well, do I use this or not? And if I do, it'd be moderation. So if a diabetic will moderate and not frequently, sparingly, corn, they can actually eat it, but not a whole lot, y'all. So I'm just going to be honest. For the most part, hubby doesn't, but I can. So then we have our chicken stock and our beef stock over here. These are new, as I added, and I plan on getting some more fire roasted diced tomatoes. I like that because I make a tomato bisque. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to do a video on that one, y'all. I had this last night. There was a tomato bisque that my husband and I absolutely enjoyed at the medieval Renaissance fair. We happened to go to a castle that did the dinner, and the soup that they served was blood something or another. What it turned out to be was the bisque, the tomato bisque. Oh my lord, I found the recipe, and I am gonna have to share that recipe with you. And it calls for the fire roasted tomatoes. I am very soon going back, and I am going to stock on those tomatoes. They are expensive though, at $1.36 a can. So I won't be doing too many of those. Down here was the home canned tomatoes that we had did over the summer. We didn't get a whole lot, so I had to buy. This is where Sam's Club came in, when we could get cases of tomato sauce or diced tomatoes, and then we came home and stacked. We bought one case of each, and this is what we got. So, and then little by little, I was buying from Walmart these. Then over here is our cannelli beans. This is approximately, there's 3 rows, and this is 2 months worth of getting cannelli beans. Another one we decided to do. Now, yes, this does not fall under Mediterranean. It is a preserved food, but it is also a meat source. It is a sacrifice that my husband and I took. We found a deal at Sam's and decided to get a case pack of the Spam, and we put it on our shelf. It is a point of having a meat source that we chose would be a good idea. He can eat it sparingly. He already eats bologna, so why not eat Spam? We could use these meat sources, even though we've got hamburger, we're fixing to have chili, we want a variety, so Spam was one of them. Down here was now this is going to get a little darker on y'all because I don't have lighting down here, but this here was the home canned green beans that we had from our garden. But we also, from Sam's and Aldi's, little here and there, we have been stocking this up, and we are still working on this. And them continued over here. These are ones that we are working on. And we will probably getting some more Spam to put on this shelf as well. So therefore, as you see, we are, and I am praising God right now, because I look at this pantry and I'm feeling more relieved, and I am fixing to fill in some more empty gaps with all the chili that we're going to be making together. So we will be right back. Okay, my friends, so we have 10 pounds of hamburger that I had already fried up. I have strained the fat out of this, and we are going to be using 10 cans of diced tomatoes and 10 cans of tomato sauce. We're going to be using our yellow onions, our jalapenos. I had some frozen green beans, or not green beans, green bell peppers and celery. This is going to be added. I took it out of my freezer so that I could put this in our chili. I am using chili powder and cumin, and I am going to show you how this is going to turn into Wendy's chili. And and I'm going to compare this to the recipe that's going to be in the ball canning book. This will be pressure canned. So let me first go over the ingredients with you, the comparison to this recipe, and then we're going to hit it and we're going to put this together and we're going to start canning this. Okay, my family, so what we are using, the first recipe I'm going to give you, that is from that ball preserving book. It's on page 105. And the chili recipe that they have in here calls for 6 pints or 3 quarts. Sorry about the beeping, that would be the laundry. This recipe calls for 5 pounds of ground beef. Now, we are using 10, so ground beef, same thing. We have 2 cups of chopped onions. As you've seen, it's the same recipe. We have 1 clove of garlic, 6 cups of diced canned tomatoes with juice. Well, we've got the diced tomatoes with juice and sauce. A half cup of chili powder. We've got some salt, some hot red peppers, finely chopped, and then we have cumin seed. Well, the difference between this recipe and Wendy's copycat version is the recipe. Now here's what I'm going to say for this. For those of you who do not want to can this recipe but would love to have it, I'm going to give it to you as well. Where this recipe will be found is in the description box below. I will have this completely for you, so if you want to make you a big old pot of chili for you and your family, they have the Wendy's copycat, which is the closest recipe that I found. We've been doing this for 2 years. We've been eating this way for 2 years. We've canned it for 2 years, and every year at the end of winter, that is the first thing gone. Everybody loves the Wendy's copycat version. This recipe is absolutely amazing, and the closest to, I mean, we don't eat out, but when we went to Wendy's, the one thing we always enjoyed for some crazy reason was their chili. So, and this is cleaner, healthier. Basically, it's how do I explain it? It's all natural food, as you're seeing. So anyway, you will have this recipe, so you don't have to can it if you don't want to. But back to the canning method. We're using ground beef, just like we are in this book. We are using tomato sauce. Now that's the one thing different, but the tomato sauce are used in various other recipes in the canning book. We are using the diced tomatoes, just same thing that are in here. They're canned. Yellow onions, instead of the red hot pepper, we're using jalapeno instead, and then we're adding green bell pepper. Well, green bell pepper is also in a lot of these recipes in these books. We're using cumin powder instead of cumin seed. We're using chili powder. We're using black pepper and salt and water. The 3 ingredients we are omitting to make this cannable is kidney beans, pinto beans, and butter. Now, the reason I am leaving the beans out, 1, they would become extremely mushy. 2, it's safer for me to know that I can have a properly canned jar of chili, and I can take maybe canned chili that or beans that I had done earlier, like you've seen in my shelf. I could put whatever kind I want in there, or buy them by the cans and put them in my chili mix and be done with it. At least I know they're properly cooked. So I am choosing to leave my beans out. If you put yours in, that's totally up to you, because this will be pressure canned. So I'm choosing to leave it out. I'll put it in when I cook it, along with the butter. Now, one of the ingredients in the Wendy's chili was that they add butter to it to give that silky, buttery, creamy flavor. So I will leave that out. I will add my butter when I go to serve my family. So this will be processed in a pressure canner the same amount of time as the Ball Canning Books chili is as well. So we are going to go ahead and can this chili up with you, and not only does it help those who want to can a copycat favorite version that goes around to everybody is Wendy's chili. Maybe you're fond of it, maybe you're not, I don't know, but some people are fond of it and probably didn't know that you can actually do this, and you can it because it is very close to what it is in the book. So without me babbling on, let's get this done because I want to get to work. So let's go in the kitchen and start canning up some chili. Okay, family, so like I said, I had already pre-cooked this meat, so we're going to start with our vegetables, adding to it now. Now this will cook until it's good and hot all the way through for about 10 minutes or so. That way I can make sure that they're perfectly fine in the jars, and I will end up moving this pot to the back of the burner, let it cook while we set up for our jars, because that has to be done before we can even start canning. So what I'm starting with now, the recipe calls for 1 stalk of celery. Now remember, this was the one I just strained them from my freezer. These are the ones that was in my freezer. They're good for canning, and I will tell you, would I do this again for doing celery? The reason I ended up freezing celery is last year, believe this or not, we had a shortage of celery. When I got some, I decided to go ahead and freeze it up so I knew that we had some. So I don't particularly like the texture, but for something like this, it will work. Now, because I am using a huge batch of this, I have to multiply it per batch of every 2 pounds to equal out my 10 pounds of chili. So the only one I won't do that for is the seasonings, and I'll explain why. But this calls for 1 stalk of celery. There is approximately 2 stalks I just put in here. So we're going to add a few more chili or celery to this. And I am going to use fresh this time because this is basically, I ran out of the stuff that was in the freezer, or I would have used it all. So I'm going to add 3 more, and I am actually going to cut these thin sliced. I'm going to get this ready to wash them and then cut them up. Take this from my scrap bowl. Let me get a bowl for that. I'm going to go ahead and wash these. I honestly enjoy this recipe. Me and my husband both. Like I said, I was never really one to basically run out to purposely go get it when I wanted it. But when we were trucking, I used to get Wendy's chili all the time. And that is the one thing I could say out of all the junk food that we ate, Wendy's chili to me was really good, especially in some of them really cold states like Wyoming and all that we went through. My goodness, it was cold. And so we would stop and get us some chili, and when I found out that I could make this at home, I was ecstatic. And then using fresh ingredients like this, to me, is better off because first of all, I know what I'm adding. I know where I've been, and so it was cool to find out I can make this. Now I've also learned to know that I can have this and I can can it. So, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to take these, I'm cutting them down, and I'm going to cut this in thin slices, and add this to my chili pot. So we will be right back. What I didn't tell you is the reason why I'm doing these thinly. Sorry, y'all. I'm doing this thinly sliced is for one, I told you I've still got to cook this up for about 10 minutes. But also when I pressure can this, it will cook at the same time. So if they're super thick, I might not get them fully cooked. But then it gives me a better chance to get it cooked throughout my chili. So I might as well, I'm not going to pause you guys over this. We're just going to go ahead and keep going with the flow. You're going to be in the kitchen with me. So we'll just do it this way. If you don't mind having me, I don't mind having you in here. I've actually missed all of you. You're like a vacation to me from all the chaos. And it has been chaos lately. I told my husband I could not wait to get back to work. Winter's coming and I have a lot to get done still. I am feeling better and becoming more relieved when I look at the pantries, but it's far from over, y'all. Far from over. We got still more work to do. So I'm seeing that we have a much bigger chance of winter this year than we have had, and things like our summer is going to be different for this winter, which I know you can't always follow the Farmer's Almanac, but I mean, it gives you a general idea. So now we've added our celery. The next ingredient that we're going to add is our bell pepper. Again, that is one that I froze last year, and I went in the freezer and grabbed it. Perfect to be putting in this mix. So it calls for 1 green bell pepper chopped. If I were to take it for this recipe for canning, it would require me with 5 bell peppers. So let me set you up, and we will, this way you can see what's going in the pot. Okay, y'all. So we are using our frozen bell peppers, and I'm just going to pop these in here. I'm going to look approximately how much. And what's nice, honestly, you can add what you want to this recipe. It's not going to hurt. If you put less than what it says, that's fine. If you put a little more, it's not going to hurt. Just make sure that it's kind of evened out in the ingredients, or at least approximation. Don't go crazy on it. Now this needs just a little bit more. Now, these are still partially froze, so that extra water is going to be in here as well. Alright, that's good right there. I hope I have enough jars. I've got about 1.5 packs of jars, so we'll see how much this gets us. Now, the next ingredient, it calls for 1 jalapeno pepper. Now, that's where I'm going to tell you, you vary the heat. The recipe says to remove the veins and the seeds. Wendy's chili is not a super spicy chili, so I get that. I will be doing that. But if I were to follow this recipe, I would have to have 5 jalapeno peppers. I happen to find 3 good size jalapenos. Now here's where my thoughts are. I'm probably only going to be doing 2. I will finally chop these and add this to my chili. If it needs spice later, I will go ahead and add some more when I cook it for our suppers, when I take it off the shelf. So we are going to do that next. I am getting my gloves on for this because I don't touch these peppers without my gloves. So we will be right back. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and chop these down. angle you down here so you can see this. We'll just go back and forth, y'all. Alright, so now you can see where we're at here. Now I'm going to just cut this down in half. Take my knife across the veins. Pop this out. Pull out my seeds. And then dice this up finely. Well, I can get this out here, right? Yeah. Same with this one right here. Go across this edge line, run down that vein, pop this out, and good as new. Remove my seeds out of my way and dice. Now I'm going to run this. I like to look at this end of it when I'm cutting it, so oh no, yeah, you can see that. We're just cutting little pieces out of this, that's all. And that's it. Now I'm going to add that to my chili pot. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and we will be right back. So it's just as simple as that one. Alright, the next ingredient is chopped onions. Now this calls for 1 onion diced. It does not exactly give you a size. I'm going to go with this one large one first. All of these vegetables, by the way, have been washed before they go into the pot. So we are going to dice up this largest onion first. If I don't use the other, it's no big deal. I can always put it in the refrigerator because I am constantly using onions. So I'm just going to dice this up, just like so. And then we are going to add this to the pot. Now, I don't know. I may just end up using this one, it looks like. That should be plenty enough onions in our chili. But this is a big old pot, so we'll see what it does. Like I said, these are the point and the ingredients. Even if you were to do it just for a meal, you would put your own preferences in. Most people do anyways. That's the reason why recipes are never exactly spot on in any of our kitchens, because we tend to change things a bit. So yeah, it looks like this might just be enough for this recipe. I don't know. We're almost done. Alright, let me go ahead and finish chopping this up, and we will be back with our next ingredients. Okay, my family, so the next ingredient that we're going to be adding, since we've got all of our vegetables in here, we have our onions, our celery, our meat. We're going to be adding now the cans of diced tomatoes and tomato sauce. Now, the recipe says for 2 pounds, we need 1 29-ounce can of diced tomatoes with the juice and 1 29-ounce can of tomato sauce. Now, I couldn't find, where the store I went to, I couldn't find the 29-ounce size. So what I ended up doing was getting 10 cans, which will equal out my 5 that I need, because I've got 10 pounds of hamburger. I needed 5 cans of the 29 ounces. Couldn't find those, so I got 14 and a half, which gives me 29 ounces. That was 2 cans each at 10. I hope that made sense. But anyways, we're going to be adding all of this into this pot. So you want juice and all. Get everything you can. We are not putting that juice from the beans in here. So I'm going to try to get all the juice that I can out of all of these cans and then through the water. But I may, depending on how things look, have to add more liquid to this to replace what I'm not getting for the beans. We'll have to see how that goes. But we're just going to go ahead and throw all of this in here. Again, if you're using the 14.5-ounce cans, you're going to need 10 of each to do this. So that'll simplify it down to what you're going to need if you're doing this. I happen to get them at Save-A-Lot, and they were expensive even there, so. Right now I'm using the diced tomatoes in here. And I'll tell you, the more that goes into this pot, the harder it's getting to stir it. This is a big old pot. I can tell you right now, we're going to get quite a bit of chili out of this. I just hope now I have enough jars. And that is the last of the diced. Now we're going to mix this together. Oh my Lord, y'all. About half of this stock pot already is full with chili. Alright, we got that all mixed together. Next will be our 10 cans of tomato sauce. Now I'm going to go get rid of these and we'll be right back. Alright, on to our next. We are going to be using our tomato sauce. And I'm trying to get all the sauce I can out of my jars. Or out of my cans, actually, so. I can also run some of them with a little bit of water, too. And that's probably what I'll end up doing, so I can get all that tomato flavor in here. Because I've also got to add, it's 1 cup for every 2 pounds of hamburger, so I need 5 cups of water as well. That'll be giving me enough to clean these cans out too. Y'all, we are going to get a lot of chili. It looks like I'm feeding a community at the moment. This is good news for me. I thank my hubby for this. And this lets you know how much he appreciates or likes this recipe as well, by the way. £10. I never thought it would make this much chili, but it sure does. We're almost done with these. We got 1 more can, and then we will be adding our 5 cups of water next. As you can see, now y'all know this was a huge stock pot And you're starting to see the level of this stock pot, even through the camera, how high this is rising. So, you know we're going to get quite a bit. I may get 3 dozen pints, and that's just a guess. 3 dozen pints of chili. That would be awesome. That will really fill up our pantry too. So let me go ahead and get this stirred up. Wow, y'all, this is rough. Alright, let me get this stirred up and then we will be right back. Alright, y'all, so now we're putting in our 5 cups. Now this is the juice from the cans that I saved. 5 cups of water. Next comes our seasoning. Then we would be putting this pot on the back eye. Let this cook for a little while until it gets nice and hot, seasoned all the way through. And we will be canning these up later. In the meantime, I will be doing my rest of my farm work that I have to get done and stuff like that. So after we get this made up, when we come back and it's time to can this up, you will know that I had done all my farm work and this had come up to heating. The canning jars were prepared and ready to go, and at that point we will start canning. This will be a long video as normal when it comes to canning with the step-by-steps. Now, the next ingredients that are to be added to this is 1 tablespoon of cumin powder. So let's see, if I were to look at the bulk canning book, the bulk canning book uses cumin seed. So the powder, the reason I look carefully at these is because it can intensify the flavors. So let me go back over here to 105. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so this calls for 1 teaspoon. Let me read on and see if they do suggest in here, and that's the reason I was saying I would not add beans. And why I'm not adding beans to this is it does say, in case people say, well, why don't you? Well, it says do not add beans before processing, as doing so may slow heat penetration, resulting in under-processed food. So I am going to go ahead and add, this is a big pot, so I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of ground cumin to this. Let's see here. Right here. I have some that's already open. So, like I said, it calls for 1 tablespoon per batch. So, we've got 5 batches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the chili powder, it calls for 1/4 cup of chili powder. That would mean for 5 batches, let's see, 1 cup and 1/4 of chili powder. So I don't think we're going to do exactly that much. If we want to add more to it, I will probably go ahead and do 3/4 cup of chili powder. When I go to cook this for us, if I want to add some more flavoring to it, I absolutely will. So we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of chili powder to this. This is just flavoring, and it doesn't change the fact that we're using this for the copycat recipe, it's still going to taste the same. That's, yeah, so about one of these, that's a half a cup. So just 1.5 of these little 2.25 ounce jars will be enough chili powder for this. And I got some that's already open, so I'm not going to open up my second one. I get the last quarter right here. Alright. Now, the other ingredient I am going to omit will be salt. If you do add salt to your recipe, it calls for 2 teaspoons of salt. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you would need 10 teaspoons of salt. I would use canning salt in this because it is used for canning. Unless you're making it just for your family, then you can do it, you know, use your whatever everyday salt. But if you're going to can this recipe, please use the canning salt. Again, I am going to omit the salt because the salt isn't necessary as far as preserving, and it's just for flavor. And with the enhancement of everything already, I would rather use it or add it when I go to cook it. And then the last ingredient will be 1 teaspoon of black pepper. So again, I'm not going to add too much black pepper, but that would be 5 teaspoons if I did in here. So I am going to do a good amount. I am going to use fresh ground cracked pepper. So this is going to take me, well, no, wait. Actually, no, I have some that, although I like the fresh cracked, for something like this though, it would cut my time. Yeah, I do have some of that. So we're just going to do it this way. And I'll do it by the teaspoon. 1. I'll probably do 3. 2. 3. No. Just do it all. 4 and 5. Now, that's all. We're going to mix this up really good. And we're going to let this big old pot sit here and cook while we go do our farm work. I'm going to tell y'all, this pot, now you can't even see that. You can see it through here, but there is not much room left in this big old stock pot. And I think this is a 16, almost 20 quart saucepan or stock pot. This is a big old pot. So I'm going to get quite a bit of chili out of this. So we will be back after this heats up, and I'm going to get my farm work done. Alright, y'all, so farm work's done. Everything is ready to go. We're just going to go ahead and start filling up our jars. I am going to have definitely a full canner worth, but I didn't have enough space in here to heat them all, so I've got 2 different opportunities here of preparing our jars. So I was letting you know that we are back. We are getting prepared at the moment, and we will be right back. Alright, y'all, so we are filling our chili to the 1-inch headspace. I am actually, because this is such a big container, I am actually having to fill them over here at the stove. So I'm just doing the 1-inch headspace, and then I have to come back and debubble everything. So it's the same process as everything else that we've been canning, basically. And then I clean the rims with vinegar, just like we did in all the other canning sessions. So we are actually going to see exactly how much that we get out of all of this. Let me bring this over here. It's a lot quicker. So I'll raise this camera up so that you guys can see me doing this, because you've seen the jars filled up before. So we'll be right back. Okay, so that makes it a little better. But we're just coming over here. You can't see behind the big old pots on the stove, but, and I'm telling you what, I have working on 4 jars, and this chili don't look like it's going down much of anywhere. So we've got a long way to go, and probably 2 canners working on this load. So, and again, I am not going to complain. This definitely puts food for this winter on our shelves, and this is exactly what I needed to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to keep filling up these jars, and we will let you know where we're at and how much I have left after the first round. Alright, y'all, I'm not sure if I spoke this or not, but when you fill up these jars, even with chili, it is 1-inch headspace, and you make sure still yet to debubble. So we are currently we're at a dozen jars, and we still got quite a bit to go. So I am actually really pleased with this. I still, after each interval, I'm checking my headspace. That one needs filled. That one's alright. Needs filled. So after I debubble them, I come back and top them off like I do all my others. So, and then I clean the rims, and I am using vinegar because this is also another fatty type of ingredient. I use vinegar to clean off my jars. This will probably be the only time I have to do chili for this season, because this will give us plenty enough for this winter on chili. Oh yeah, now we got this good. Now I just sit there and clean them off. Okay, so I clean off my rings. And then we will go ahead and top this. I'm still working on the first round. That first round in a full canner, in this canner, which is a 23 quart, it will be 18 pints. Will make 1 full container in here. So I know for a fact I'm going to get at least 1 round. Let me see what the second round will bring us. And at that point, y'all, I will be back with you, because each session, or actually what I might do, because this is such a huge yeah, hang on a second here. Alright, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and finish this load off, and then I'll be taking its round. Because they are pints, for an hour and 15 minutes, that's 75 minutes. After that round, I will be going for round 2. And I have never done a video with that amount of food to go on our shelf. So what I'll end up doing is, at this point, pausing everything, going through my process, and then once everything is done, I will bring you back and show you the complete finished product, how much exactly we got out of 10 pounds of hamburger with this recipe. It might give you a general idea if this is something that would work for you, or maybe even the 5 pounds like the Bald Book said. Now, they claimed it was only 6 pints, but I'm going to tell you, based by even what I've seen, I don't see how that would happen. But we will be back at that point. I have a lot of work to do, and each session is going to take me quite a while to get through. So instead of, honestly, I could end this video now and then just put it in the community and show you exactly what we got out of it. I will go ahead and wait and show you at the very end. I will tell you that this is definitely worth it to me, very, very much so. So we will be back, and I have got to get to work. Alright, y'all, so the first round of canning has been completed, and this is our chili. Now, that's just the first round. We are on round 2 right now in that canner right there. Altogether, we have 31 pints of chili. This is my biggest canning yet. And for the winter, we are definitely set for chili. So I'm not going to do any more after this. That's what we got from that recipe that I gave you, and the 10 pounds of hamburger meat. I think my hubby's going to be awful pleased. So we have 17 finished, and then the second round is in here. I am one tired woman, so at this point I am I've got this sealed, waiting for the 10-minute mark, and then we will do another round of 75 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up this kitchen and get ready because I have supper to do next. So I am going to end this video, and I am going to get back to work. Much, much love to each and every one of you from Parton's Heritage Homestead. I am sincerely hoping that this video helped you in ways from the pantry update and this recipe here. So, and this recipe will work for a diabetic, and it can work for Mediterranean. It's all natural food. So until next time, I love you all. We will see you again, I promise, and we will be up for more recipes for our meals. And I am going to be figuring out our next move for canning, if not using canned goods. So we do have a chit chat coming up for sure, and I have some planting for my fall crops. So we'll see you again from Parton's Heritage Homestead.